It's You Had to Ask, the show where I answer your questions, and this week my first question comes from Inertia, who says, Steve, I appreciate you standing up for social justice, and I like your take on many issues. My question surrounds something along those lines, but don't recall hearing much about from you. I've been living with a chronic invisible illness for the last 6 years. Chronic meaning no cure and reoccurring, and invisible meaning that looking at me, you can't really tell that I am sick. It has caused me to withdraw from a lot of people because I feel like a lot of people I have to handhold them through what I am going through. I've lived with this for 6 years now, and I have learned to take care of myself, and I know how to communicate what I need. I just don't like feeling like I have to either handhold someone else through what I am going through or have to pretend that I don't have a condition where I have limitations. Do you think there is a way to get the following through people's minds? 1. You can't always tell by looking at someone that they are sick. 2. You should defer to the person with issues on how to accommodate them. And 3. If someone is going through something serious, your feelings don't trump their struggles. It seems to me that the key to this is the same as the key to many of our other relations with each other, and that is empathy. But it can be difficult to know how to effectively evoke empathy in another person if they're dealing with a situation that they have never experienced themselves or that they don't really understand. Instead of going through the laundry list, or as you say, trying to handhold them through your life and your struggles in a detailed way, maybe just say, look, the details of my struggle are not important right now. The specific limitations I have, the things I have to do that make me different from you or make my life different from yours are not as important as getting you to accept that I have these limitations and I have differences and I have things that I need that other people don't need. And maybe instead of focusing on those details and scrutinizing the condition that I have, maybe you could say, you could imagine what it would be like if you had such a condition. Imagine there was something about you that was not immediately apparent, but that affected your life and made life more difficult for you than it would for a person without this condition. And how would you feel if you were constantly being asked to explain yourself or to prove yourself? Imagine if this was your life and you were constantly having to do this on top of the condition that is already limiting you and affecting your life. I don't know, maybe that would get through to people. Walking a mile in someone else's shoes, even imagining what it would be like to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, that can be helpful sometimes if you haven't tried that before. I mean, I honestly, I wish I had something better to tell you than that. William McAlpin. Okay, Steve, time to see your true colors shining through. Due to some fluctuation in the quantum filament of subspace entropy, you, yes you, are now in possession of the one, the only, the Starship Enterprise. A, B, C, D, or E. It's your choice. It will follow all of your commands and yours alone. What do? Fire phasers at North Korean missiles? Beam up the Donald and hold him in the brig? Replicate a new hat? Do you think that you would be able to handle all of that power? Is humanity as a whole ready for such awesome technology so soon? I don't think I would fire phasers at North Korean missiles. Maybe I would beam the missiles up so they didn't have them anymore. Maybe I would beam up all the missiles. I would beam up all the nuclear weapons on Earth and just, scatter them into molecules in outer space where there are no more nuclear weapons on Earth. Maybe I would do that. Maybe I would use the replicators to send some food to North Korea and to other parts of the world that are suffering from famine and food shortages. Maybe I would do that. Maybe I would use the technology of the ship to try and supply the shortages that various people, various nations have that lead to strife and to war and to power imbalances. Maybe I would do stuff like that, Maybe I would beam up Donald Trump and just sort of show him the Earth. Say, look at this place. Look. Let's back the ship up so we can see the entire planet as a whole in the view screen. And let's just think about that. That's where we're all from. That right there. And look, let's back up even further. Let's back up all the way to the edge of our solar system where you can't even see our planet with the naked eye anymore. Look at that. Look at that tiny little dot. I'll pale blue dot him. I'll pale blue dot him and I'll say, look at that. and think about what you are doing. And I could do that not just with Donald Trump, but with a lot of people, with quite a few world leaders, with quite a few prominent media people. I take them up, pale blue dot them, back up until the earth is just a little speck, barely even perceptible, and say that's where everybody lives. That's where everything that has ever happened to you or anyone you know or anyone you've ever heard of took place. That little tiny speck in the middle of nothingness. Now think about what you're doing with your life, with your power, with the privilege that you have, with the influence that you wield. Think about that. I might do something like that. But then you also run into sort of the Superman problem, where you give one person this much power. You say, hey Steve, you have the enterprise now, you can do whatever you want. I would like to think I would use it with the best intentions, and I would use it to help people and to solve problems and to make the world a more peaceful, prosperous place, a more equitable place. And I would try to do that, but inevitably I would run up against my own shortcomings. I would be I would inevitably fall victim to my own biases and prejudices. I would inevitably fall victim to my own intellectual shortcomings, my own emotional shortcomings. There would be ways in which I probably could have used the power of the ship that I didn't. I could have made the world even better. I may do something that inadvertently makes things worse in some area. So there's always going to be that problem too. That's why these philosophical questions of if you had this much power, how would you use it, are so fascinating, because it's very tempting to do what I just did and say, oh, I would use it to do good, and I would use it to do this and this and this, and I would feed people, and I would stop wars, and I would educate people, and I would show everybody the folly of their ways. But we're also imperfect people, and inevitably we're going to fuck up, and inevitably we're going to use that power in ways that are less efficient or less helpful than it might be. So that would probably happen too. Hopefully I wouldn't ruin everything. The Nightmare Rider. Why do you think that so many anti-feminists are also atheists, most of whom use the exact same logical fallacies as creationists? I can hardly count the number of times those in the manosphere use straw man arguments, quote mining, equivocation, fallacies of relative privation, etc. Do you think that these people understand how easy it is to fall into foundational bias, or do they just assume that because they are not religious, they cannot be illogical people? Like how many religious people will believe in Jesus but reject Santa Claus? It seems to me that the priorities of many people, even if they are not within the manosphere, is that it is worse to be called racist, sexist, transphobic, etc., than to admit there is actual racism, sexism, transphobia, etc. in the world. Also, do you have any thoughts on Anita Sarkeesian? I see so few honest critiques of her work that aren't out to completely destroy everything she says, that I fear even my own balanced critiques are but a drop in the ocean compared to the monumental levels of bullshit said about her on a daily basis. Recognizing your own biases and trying to correct for them and not be led by them, at least as much, is difficult enough already. And when you tell yourself that you are more logical than someone else, or that you have rid yourself of the source of irrationality and poor thinking and poor judgment that affects so many other people, as many atheists do. We tell ourselves, well, we're not religious anymore. We've thrown off the shackles of irrationality. We are no longer slave to the traditions and the expectations and the claims of religion. We use that and allow ourselves to sort of flatter ourselves and say, yeah, so now we're the objective ones. Now we're the neutral ones. Now we're the ones who can see things as they truly are. And of course that is complete horseshit. Because even though we may have rejected the religious traditions and the rules and expectations and claims of religion, we are still subject to the rest of our culture and the rest of our experience. And we are no more in a position to be objective and neutral than anyone else, honestly. People say, well, religion is patriarchal. I'm not religious, so I don't have any patriarchal attitudes. I've thrown those away. No, I don't think so. If you are a proud anti-feminist, if you find yourself saying things like, oh, Western women aren't oppressed, and some people even take it a step further and say, Western women are the most privileged people on the planet, then you haven't thrown off those patriarchal attitudes. You are clinging quite stubbornly to some of them still. whether you're an atheist or not. So yeah, I think it's that we have a very privileged, very, very self-flattering mindset when it comes to our intellect and our neutrality and our objectivity, many of us who are atheists. And I include myself in this. I fall prey to this as well. I don't mean to set myself above everybody else. I'm just as much down in it as everybody else. And as for Anita Sarkeesian, I like Anita. I don't have a problem with Anita. I think that her work is the same sort of media criticism that has been done about literature and film for decades. She does the same sort of thing with video games that people have been doing with movies for as long as there have been movies. And it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything she says. You can feel free to disagree with her critique or disagree with her opinion or think she's got something wrong or she's being unreasonable or whatever. That's completely fine, as you would do with any other media critic that you would read. And you might think that she has a point on some cases, and you might think that she's completely out to lunch on other cases. It's very revealing that people have chosen her and people who do what she does, critique video games, from a more liberal, progressive, social justice-oriented perspective, and especially women who do that. It's very revealing that they have been the targets of such vitriol and hatred, when really what they're doing is no different than what people have done since time immemorial. So it's disappointing and revealing to see the level of hatred that she attracts. And personally, I don't have a problem with her at all. I think she's fine. Zubel Sticks, speaking of outdated science fiction, do you have a favorite sci-fi movie, TV era? What future of the past do you enjoy the most? What sort of tropes, themes, or styles appeal to you the most? I land pretty squarely in the rough 1975-85 range, probably because I grew up around then. Well, I'm a big Star Trek fan, so for me, I would probably have to say, as far as my favorite era of sci-fi, late 80s and early to mid 90s, that stretch there where we had Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine started up then, Star Trek 6 came out during that period. You also had Babylon 5 start up on TV. The X-Files started in the mid 90s, the early to mid 90s, and the X-Files is one of my favorite shows ever. So that's, for me personally, and again, yeah, it's because I was coming of age then, I was growing up then, I was discovering a lot of this stuff, and it's the period that I look back on sort of fondly, because I discovered so many shows and movies that I really, really, got attached to. So probably that era for me. As for what's my favorite future of the past, the version of the year 2001 in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey is very bittersweet for me, because I can see how that would have been plausible, at least remotely plausible, from the vantage point of 1968 when the movie was made. I can understand why in the rush of the space race, with just a year to go before the first Apollo moon landing, someone with a somewhat optimistic view of humanity, which actually I don't know if you could say Kubrick had an optimistic view of humanity, but someone could realistically project 40 years in the future and say, I think by 2001 we're going to have all this stuff. In 2001, space travel is going to be routine, and in 2001 people are going to fly on space planes the same as they do on airplanes, and we're going to have rotating space stations, and we're going to have moon bases, and we're going to be sending manned missions to Jupiter, and it's all going to be great. We're going to embrace technology and meet the future head on. I can understand how you could have gotten there from 1968. And it's bittersweet for me, because it's like, yeah, we totally didn't do that. Marv Roberts, regarding your comment about making a high school education mandatory, I've noticed that in poorer areas of the country, there seems to be less emphasis on pure academia and more emphasis on trade skills. Employers in these areas often tend to value education and trade skills above that of a high school diploma. As such, many students in these areas tend to drop out of high school in order to enroll in trade vocational schools where they can learn skills like electronics, auto mechanics, drafting, welding, nursing assistant, etc. Do you think that the standard high school curriculum should be reformed to include more emphasis on life, trade, and vocational skills? And do you think that doing so could help to reduce the rate of high school dropouts in these areas? I think this is a good idea. I would support this. In fact, in the school district where I grew up, our district did have a technical high school, where after your sophomore year, you could choose to transfer from whatever your home high school was to the technical high school. And it was very much like you're describing in your question, Marv, where you would have, you could take courses in electronics or auto mechanics or various, vocational areas. And you would graduate high school, you would have a high school diploma, but you would also have training in those, in whatever area of those that you chose. Which could then help you if you wanted to find a job in that area or go on to, a vocational school after high school. I think it's a great thing. I would love to make those sorts of options more available to people who are interested in them and who would want to pursue, more of a vocational training post high school rather than going to a university and pursuing more of an academic education. I think those options should be available for people who want them, and more so than they are. And I think that's a great idea. I don't know. I haven't looked up the dropout rate in my home school district that has the technical high school. So I don't know how it compares to dropout rates in districts maybe that don't have a program like that. I don't know if it makes a big difference. And if there is a difference, I don't know if you can directly attribute it to the presence of a technical high school. But what you say makes sense, and I would be all for that. I think making vocational training available and affordable to people who want it is a fantastic idea. Terry Williams. I normally would ask a question every week or so in the past couple of years, and sometimes you answered and other times not. The last question you answered of mine, I accidentally posted from my wife's Google account, Casey Farrell. Not too long after, we were in a serious car accident, and we let my wife go painlessly after 5 days in a coma. It's been slightly over 2 months since that day. I miss her immensely. She was my best friend. Your channel was a big help to me when I first started identifying as an atheist, and my wife even subbed to you as well. She was a fan of And Now the Good News. I've been watching your videos even more since she died, and they have helped keep me going and give me something to look forward to. I want to attend the Reason Rally this summer, and thank you in person for giving me something to look forward to each day. Is that possible? Yeah. That is very possible. I would like to do that. I am going to be at the Reason Rally, and I'm hoping also, in addition to being at the rally itself on that Saturday, to be meeting some friends, some people I know from YouTube, people who have watched me in the past and are going to be there. I'm hoping to get together somewhere and just hang out for a little while and have drinks. So Terry, either at the rally itself or afterwards, whatever ends up happening, I would very much like to see you. And thanks for posting that. And I mean, I don't even know what to say. I'm so sorry about your wife. I mean, that seems like such a paltry, insufficient response. I don't know. My heart breaks for you and for her. I'm so sorry that happened. I'm glad that what I do has been of some help to you. That's really the only thing that I can hope that any of this that I do is worth. I hope it's of use to people. I hope people watch it and are entertained by it or amused by it or find something in it that makes them think about something that they didn't think about before, or are, enriched by it in some way. That's the best you can hope for. And I'm glad that I could help. I don't know what else to tell you. And if we do, find each other at the Reason Rally, I would love to meet you and talk with you. That would be great. And now it's time for
the lightning round. Rapid fire questions, glib and adequate answers.
Bozo the Skeptical Hermit Crab. Okay, a tough one, Steve. What is your favorite cheese and why? I've always liked Swiss cheese. I mean, I'm not like a cheese connoisseur, but I've always liked Swiss cheese, and I was shocked relatively recently to learn that there are people who absolutely hate Swiss cheese. That was disillusioning to me, because I've always liked Swiss cheese a lot. I have to say Swiss cheese is my favorite. Todd Wills, if you could have any type of dinosaur as a miniaturized pet, which one would you have? And would you please describe a delightful adventure you'd have with your tiny dinosaur friend? I would have a tiny pet-sized velociraptor, and my adventure would be going to places and never having to stand in line, because as soon as people saw me coming with the velociraptor on the leash, they would immediately part like the Red Sea. That would be my adventure. Are you disappointed that it's not more adventurous? I'm sorry. Maybe every once in a while I could use my enlarger ray, which I got from the same guy who gave me the miniaturized pet raptor, and I could, blow the raptor up into like horse size, and I could ride it around. We could have adventures that way, me and my raptor. And then I could shrink it back down to pet size, and it would be like my raptor petting, and maybe that would work. Vim Sweden! Which pizza toppings disgust you most? Here in Sweden, there's a popular pizza with curry powder, banana, chicken, pineapple, and peanuts. Makes my stomach turn. Boy howdy, that's pretty disgusting. I mean, chicken is cool. I can see chicken on a pizza. Pineapple. I actually like pineapple on pizza as well. I like Hawaiian style pizza. Pineapple and ham is good for me. But yeah, bananas, curry, peanuts. I don't know about that. The pizza that Lisa orders in the room is pretty fucking disgusting too. I would say the Lisa special pizza, which is something. What'd she say? Light on the cheese, half anchovies, half Canadian bacon. So it's fucking gross. Like, that's the pizza you're ordering? Rick Schmielk. Hey Steve, I've just seen you on a couple of videos with Hugo and Jake on the Bible Reloaded reading chick tracts. How did you get hooked up with those guys? How has that been working with them? Seems like it is a good time. Yeah, Hugo and Jake and I haven't done a collaboration for a couple years, but it was a huge amount of fun working with those guys. I really like them both. They've always been very nice to me and very good to me. I consider them friends. And yeah, we've done 2 chick tracks together, and I also did a video for them, like for one of their Christmas videos. They're great. They're great to work with. They're great to collaborate with. They're really funny. And if they ever wanted to do anything with me again, I would be up for it completely. I'm a huge fan of the Bible Reloaded. Lucas Hackett, one angry brony. Hey Steve, I know you're not much of a gamer, but what do you say is the most superior Mario brother and why? Mario or Luigi? Well, Mario. Mario is the most superior because it's called Super Mario Brothers, not Super Luigi Brothers, which means that not only is the game named after Mario, but Mario's last name is also Mario, so his name is Mario, which means that his parents chose him to be the one to carry the family name as his first name, and I always trust a mother's judgment. Not always, but for the sake of the question, let's just say I do. Kevin Logan, if you had to get rid of one, which one out of your cap and your beard would you keep? I suppose I would keep the cap, because most of my life I didn't have a beard, so I guess if I've gotten used to having a beard, I could get used to not having one, and I think the beard is way less of a psychological crutch than the cap is. I would probably be far less crippled by losing the beard than losing the cap. Ahoy or no, compulsory voting, yes, no, why? In theory, I would say yes, actually. I think compulsory voting is a good idea, and to me that would just mean, I think other countries that do it this way, like if you don't vote, then you have to pay a fine. But the caveat is this: we need to reform voting in the United States to make it more accessible to everybody. We need to get rid of these laws that make it more difficult for people with economic disadvantages, or people of color, people from certain neighborhoods, people who don't have cars, to vote. We need to eliminate as much as possible all the obstacles to voting, to make voting easier and convenient for everyone. Then we can implement compulsory voting. Because if we implement compulsory voting now and we start charging people fines for not voting when it's difficult, if not impossible, for them to vote, that would be bullshit. We need to fix voting first and make it more accessible. Then I think compulsory voting to encourage everyone to vote would be a good idea. Joseph Opiano, lightning round question. What is your favorite beer? Favorite liquor? Favorite beer is Yuengling. That's what I drink almost all the time. Almost every time I drink a beer, it's a Yuengling if Yuengling is available. Favorite liquor? I don't like liquor. I'm not a liquor person. I tried to get into Scotch a few years ago, and I just couldn't do it. It's just not to my palate. I'm too much of a lightweight when it comes to drinking. I'm much more of a beer guy than a liquor guy. Yarrow Kassir, Steve, what is the answer to this question? The answer to this question is John Adams. Alejandro Tierney, in a presidential race between Jack McPherson and Trump, who would you choose and why? Imagine it as a real possibility. Oh, McPherson. I would vote for Jack McPherson, the, let's just say, somewhat troubled stuffed bear from my Stephen Stuffy series, who is currently running for president, by the way. I would vote for Jack over Trump. Wouldn't even have to think about it. Wouldn't even be a hold my nose vote. I would vote for Jack McPherson. No question. And why? Because he's not Donald Trump. And because I'm close to him. I feel like Jack could be gotten to. I could whisper in Jack's ear, maybe get a few things done. And Jack could get shit done in Congress, believe me. Jack knows how to twist arms. Radical Bacon, should I pet the dog? Oh, you should always pet the dog. As long as it's okay with the dog and with the dog's person. Always pet the dog. Always pet the dog. Don't ever pass up a chance to pet a dog if you can possibly pet it, if it's at all appropriate and allowable. Pet the dog. Hey, that's the last question. Pet the dog. Now, before I go, it's time for the shout-out. The shout-out this week, as always, goes to a very deserving and undersubscribed YouTube channel. And this time around, it is the YouTube channel belonging to Michael Rowlands. Michael is someone who I've just recently become aware of. He seems like a really good dude on a personal level, and as far as his YouTube channel, it is top-notch. He has just started, or a few months ago started, a series of videos called Why Do Anti-Feminists Hate Feminism? Examining a lot of the common online arguments made against feminism by people who identify as anti-feminist or claim that feminism is this horrible thing that needs to be resisted and fought. It's a really, really excellent series exposing what I believe to be the ignorance and horseshit arguments of such people. Michael does a great job there. Well worth a look. And also, he's a musician. So if critiquing anti-feminism isn't your thing, then you can check out his music videos, because he's a musician, he's talented, he's great. He has videos where he covers songs by David Bowie and Paul Simon and Tim Minchin and Taylor Swift even. So check out his commentary and his arguments against anti-feminism. Check out his music. It's all great. Michael Rowlands. Check it out. He really deserves more attention and more support than he is getting. I highly, highly recommend the YouTube channel of Michael Rowlands. I also highly recommend the Lemme Listen podcasts, and not just because I'm on one of them. Not just because of that, primarily because of that, but it's also because they are all awesome, awesome shows. They are produced by my friend, the great Jason Harding. He produces 3 podcasts under the Lemme Listen umbrella. There is Lemme Finish, which he hosts with Finite Atticus. It is hilarious. You should definitely check that out. There's also the American Monsters and How to Destroy Them podcast, which is an improv comedy podcast dealing with cryptozoology and mystery and the supernatural. I always say it's like a cross between Coast to Coast AM and Twin Peaks, and it is not only really well produced and well performed, but hilarious. And finally, last but certainly not least, because this is the one that I'm in, Late Seating, the movie review podcast that Jason co-hosts with me, where we review old movies that have a reputation of either being great or being terrible. We give them a fresh look. We summarize the plot and make fun of it, whether we like the movie or not. And we talk about if we think this movie deserves whatever reputation it has. It's such a fun show to do. And I highly recommend that you check it out. And you check out all of the Lemme Listen podcasts by going to lemmelistenpodcasts.com. And now I'm done. I'm going to end the video and go away. I hope that doesn't upset too many of you or make some of you too happy. Thank you as always for watching. Please leave a comment on this video asking me your question for next time. Ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I will answer as many of them in the next video as I possibly can, because let's not forget, in order for me to do this, you have to ask. So please ask. Please ask. I look forward to reading your questions and answering them next time. That's it, everybody. Catch you later. Take care. Hey, remember a few seconds ago when I said I was done? That was a lie. I knew I still had to do this bit, but I said that anyway. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and share it and subscribe to this channel if you're not subbed already. And also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.